proudest day, and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears 2025 season. Please like, share, subscribe. Makes a huge difference, and we really do appreciate everybody tuning in each week to listen to us and our guests talk about rallying. Kevin had an opportunity this week to catch up with Aaron Johnston, fresh off the plane from Portugal, where himself and Taka had a great result. And it was an opportunity, I suppose, to really hear from Aaron how this year has begun for him, you know, after 5 rounds of the World Championship. And then also we have another little special guest who we got a chance to meet for the first time, and we'll go into a bit more detail after that. We got a social media influencer, Kevin.
Excellent. Yeah, so, you know, we're always looking for the different angles. So, yeah, I think this is definitely something different. You know, not really our forte, but it's always good to hear something different, and, you know, it would get you interested, and it's something that has to be explored more too, I think.
Absolutely, look, it does. It's very important. And Emma Hawley, who is that person, and we'll get to that interview shortly, Emma's mission is to bring new people to the sport, and, you know, I suppose it's about exploring every medium possible, and I suppose particularly for a younger generation, TikTok is where it's at the moment, and it's the medium to use if we want to bring fresh blood in.
That's for sure, you know, and like we're always saying we need new blood in the sport, and maybe this is an avenue that, you know, clubs and, you know, all have to explore this as well.
Absolutely, look, everything has to be tried, I think. But before we get to hear from Emma, let's hear from Aaron. Aaron, 5 rounds into the WRC Championship. Looking back at the year so far, what's your feeling? You know, what's your sense of where you and Taka are at?
Yeah, 5 rounds in, like you say, and I think, to be honest, that the season for us so far has been pretty strong, feeling-wise. Maybe the results have not specifically reflected that. Obviously, getting stuck in Monte on Sunday morning, and then, of course, being upside down in the power stage in Kenya, but the speed has been there on every rally. You know, we've been comfortably within the top 5 in the first 5 events. And, you know, Sweden again was another strong event where we were fighting for the win all weekend, and taking no risks, and driving well within our means, but yet still able to fight at the very front. So I think so far it's been a really strong year that isn't maybe fully, you know, represented in the points tally in the championship at the minute, but yeah, I think the feeling overall is pretty strong moving forward now into the summer part of the season.
And I suppose two major changes at the start of the year. Hybrid was gone, or is gone, and then new tires as well. So from the hybrid perspective, does that mean less work for you?
Yes, it's very clear. From the co-driver's perspective, without the extra work that the hybrid battery brought to us for 3 years, I think it's fair to say we're maybe 25-30% less of a workload, both pre-event and during the event. Just silly things like marking in the notes if you had a dangerous hybrid system, where it's safe to pull in and where there is people to help you, and, you know, also marking in the road books, you know, where we can, we have to use the hybrid and you're not allowed to use your internal combustion engine. And again, putting things in where to charge the battery, and where to, you know, you need to charge it in a faster capacity than the normal. So overall, it has massively reduced the workload. And even for the driver, I would say it's less to think about. A lot of the guys were adapting their driving styles accordingly when we had the extra boost of the battery, and marking little things in the notes about where to, you know, maybe brake a little bit more so that you had the boost for the next long straight. So overall, I think, the workload is less, but for me, I enjoyed when we had the hybrid car. It was an extra challenge, and for sure on bone dry tarmac, especially off the start line, this extra boost you got really made the car feel incredibly fast.
And any difference in feeling in the car, weight distribution, or anything like that, or is that just pretty much just replaced with ballast instead?
Yeah, well, from a co-driver side, I think that the car is pretty similar with or without the battery. Like I say, you miss it a little bit on tarmac, that initial kick from the extra boost of the battery, but on gravel, it's very hard to say. I think obviously first pass the road is quite loose, and second pass you're fighting the ruts in many places, so you didn't really get to fully utilize the extra performance that the battery brought. But overall, I think that there is pros and cons of having a car with the hybrid and the car without. The biggest one I would say without is maybe it stops a little bit quicker because the cars are marginally lighter than we were when we had the battery. But I would say the difference is very, very small.
And then other major change that we mentioned was that the Hankook coming in as the tire supplier to Rally 1. 5 different events, 5 different tires, if I'm correct. So is it taking longer to maybe get to grips with the tires because of that?
I think so far Hankook have done a pretty reasonable job. They are brand new to the WRC and especially the top category in Rally 1. And the tires that we have at the moment are within the window, and they seem to be relatively reliable when it comes to puncture resistance. I think everyone in the team is working exceptionally hard to utilize and understand all about these new tires. And it's still very, very early into the relationship, and we didn't have so much testing in 2024 to fully understand. And of course, Hankook are constantly developing and bringing improvements, and the tires are always evolving. So it's just trying to balance all of that and understand how the new tire is working with the car. And from the co-driver side, at least, I think that the tire that we have now is within the window. Yeah, for sure. Everything can always get better, and the team are working closely with the tire engineers to fully understand and how to improve the tire on every rally. And for me, I think that the guys at Hankook are keen, and they understand what we need from the tire, and they're constantly trying to help us and improve their own product. So I think moving forward, it should work well.
And one of your roles pre-stage is usually looking after the tire pressures. Anything different from that perspective on your side, or is it just the same as what you had been doing?
Status quo. Let's say the air inside the tire, it doesn't matter what brand it is, so you just follow the gauge.
Fair enough. And what do you call it? We mentioned Sweden briefly there, and you had a huge battle with Elvin. Going into Sweden, because of the last year and going out from the lead last year on the Sunday, was there any added pressure on yourself and Taka for this event, or even internally, or your own pressure? Was it any different, or how did you kind of approach Sweden?
Like you say, we were leading the rally last year and ended up going off the road. So of course it's something that you don't want to repeat then the following year, and that for sure was in our minds. But I don't think there was any additional pressure from the team. Maybe a little bit that we put on ourselves, not to make a mistake again. But the pace in Sweden was extremely strong last year in difficult conditions, and the conditions were really nice this year. And we had the new tire, like we say, but it was enjoyable. And when the driving is enjoyable and you are just in a flow, and it works really well. And I don't think we had almost no moments the full weekend. We were driving totally within the limits, and we knew that this is what we had to do to minimize the risk of a mistake. And that was the target, but yet still be competitive and fight as high up as we could. But for sure, to be fighting all the way to the power stage on Sunday for the rally win was a really nice feeling, and it was comfortable in the car and enjoyable, and especially when it was with one of our teammates as well. And to finish in P2, 3 seconds behind Elvin, I think, for sure we still have to be happy. Okay, there is a little bit of desire, of course, to take your first WRC win, but I think hopefully with how things are going and how hard we are working, that shouldn't be too far away.
Yeah. And then on to Safari, and Taka was hit with food poisoning in the middle of the event. Like, yes, your work colleagues and you're part of a professional team, but you're also buddies, you're friends. Like, do you become a bit more protective of them in those sort of circumstances?
Yeah, for sure. Me and Taka are really good friends, and I think it would be virtually impossible to do this together if you weren't on that level of personal friendship, because you spend so much time together traveling and recce and videos, and even going for dinner in the evenings when we have time. It's a really close relationship, and I have a lot of time for the guy and enjoy his company, and listening to how everything's going at home with the family and everything. So for sure we are very good friends. But yeah, the role of a co-driver, more so than anything else, is to take as many of the jobs and the responsibilities away from the driver in general, so that they only have to concentrate on the ultimate task of driving. And yeah, it was unfortunate that Taka got food poisoning in Kenya. It definitely took away some of his energy, I would say, for at least day one. But then after that, with the guys that we have in the team and the physio Dan, we were able to battle the food poisoning with electrolytes and medication. So yeah, maybe a little bit on the first day, on the Thursday, where we had the shakedown and the street stage, but overall I think Taka coped very well, and hopefully it won't happen again.
Fingers crossed, absolutely. And then on to the Canaries, new event or new round for the WRC anyway. Taka's background, circuit racing, was he a bit more at home on the tarmac of the Canary Islands?
Yeah, it's an event that I had done in the past in the ERC days with Oliver, but I have to say it was really, really enjoyable to go to a completely clean, dry tarmac rally where you didn't really have so much to think about. You just put hard tires on the car, and it was as low as it could go, and there was almost no pollution on the road, maybe half a dozen corners in the whole rally. So from that side, thoroughly enjoyable. Okay, I understand the feedback as well from maybe you guys and some of the fans that it was maybe not the most exciting rally in the world to watch, but as a competitor inside the car, it was mega. Really, really enjoyable, I have to say. One of the rallies that I have enjoyed from start to finish, and hopefully they can do a long-term deal now to keep it in the championship, because we have so many gravel rallies, and we have tarmac rallies as well, but let's say Monte can be changeable. When we were in Croatia or Central Europe, the road, let's say, is pretty much destroyed with pollution after 3 or 4 cars, and that takes away some of the enjoyment on a tarmac rally when you're constantly having to slow down in places that are easily flat, but when the road is covered in mud, you have no other choice. So yeah, to do a proper clean tarmac rally, it was thoroughly enjoyable to be in the Canaries.
And then Portugal, which you've just completed, and coming into Portugal, change of livery for the Yaris, and went from the traditional black that we've seen for the last year and a bit to silver. And I think the silver's only temporary for 3 or 4 events, just that in the hot climate. Or do you notice a difference? Does it? Because up to the now we've seen the silver roof to help reflect the heat, but painting the whole car silver, could you sense a difference in the car?
I was probably a bit of a skeptic like yourself there, judging by how you worded that, Connor. But no, honestly, it does make a difference. a visible difference. You know, the temperature inside the car in these Rally 1 cars was always hot. That is for sure. Now that we have also lost the battery, maybe things are a little bit cooler initially, but Portugal was, let's say, the first summer rally that we did. It was not so warm in Canaries. So Portugal, yeah, the difference that the silver car made, I say, was noticeable, and for sure it made things, you know, easier on us. Even when you are sitting there and waiting for the stage to start in the black car, when you were doing some jobs or whatever and you touched it, it was, you know, warm. But now when you touch the silver livery, it's noticeably cooler. So it works the same when you're sitting in the car also.
So really will come into play maybe Sardinia and definitely in Greece.
Yeah, definitely at Greece. You know, now that Greece is in June and the traditional date has been pulled forward since September, which was already hot at that time of year, but now to be going, let's say, in the peak of the summer, I think that the silver livery for us will definitely help how it feels for us inside the car. But for me, at least, it looks cool. Also, I wasn't sure when we were looking at the photos, but when you see it in the flesh, I think it's a pretty cool looking car. Also,
yeah, I have to say now. Again, when I saw the initial photos, I wasn't sure, but in person, yeah, I loved it, and certainly photographs I took in Portugal, the car looks very impressive in the silver. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's good.
And then just I suppose one of the features of Portugal was the very long Friday. And I know personally, and I wasn't sitting in a rally car. It was tough going by the end of the day. But when you got into the media zone, one of the things I was very impressed with, despite the fact, you know, you had your own work to do and you'd had such a long day in the car, as soon as Josh and Owen pulled into the media zone, you were straight over to see how the boys were and to, you know, congratulate them getting into the end of the day and stuff. So I was very impressed, that camaraderie, obviously from the academy side of things, but also just, you know, your competition as well.
Yeah, I think, like you say there, the length of the day on Friday in Portugal has been pretty well documented by most of the crews now at this stage. But yeah, a little bit extreme. Like Callie said, I think it's fair. You know, we can do it, but at what point does it become too much? It's hard to say. The problem is when the organisers are making these itineraries, they are not really thinking so much about the work we have to do in the mornings and the evenings before we actually get into the car, because you're losing, you know, 2-3 hours every day for this, let alone the time that you actually spend in the car. But yeah, listen, like you say about Josh and Owen, Josh is one of my best friends. We started competing together many years ago, and now that the two of us are at the very top of the sport in factory cars, it's a little bit surreal, to be honest. So I don't see Josh as a P1 driver. I see him still the guy that was sitting or driving beside me many years ago, and let's say not the best type of machinery. So from that perspective, we're good friends. And listen, when we are rallying, you're not fighting with anybody, you're fighting against the clock. So I think that's why not only me and Josh, but everyone, you know, in rally has such a camaraderie, because it doesn't matter what anybody else do, you only do the best job that you can against the clock. And to see Josh's development alongside Owen over the last few months into the top level of the sport has been phenomenal, and the job that he did in Portugal, I think, was incredible, and I have no doubt that he will be able to continue to develop and fight further up the rankings.
Yeah, no, he had a really good performance, and again, you know, coming out top M Sport driver as well in the event was certainly very good for him, standing well. Do you get, so, you know, you're sitting in the car, bouncing along rough stages, particularly in the second pass, head buried in the notes, but do you get much of a sense of the atmosphere, the crowds out there, you know, as you're hurtling past?
It depends where you are. Let's say when you're starting the season on Thursday night in Monty and you're climbing up the passes and all the guys are there with the fireworks and the bonfires and let's say the smoke maybe covering the road in some places, for sure it is an incredible feeling inside the car, and it's quite clear that there is many spectators there. You go to places like Kenya and let's say you're not really thinking about the spectators but more so the animals. So every rally you go to brings its own challenges from that side of things, but no matter where you go in the world there is always a flag from home, and some of them for sure you notice, because if you're coming down to a junction and it's quite slow, square or hairpin, for sure there is time to look up, and it's always a nice buzz to take a split second and see the flag in the distance.
And you coined the phrase Japan Airlines on the likes of the faith jump and that. Do you just take it for granted Taka's going to go for it? Do you discuss it, or do you just give the belts an extra tug to tighten up coming up to it?
Yeah, this seems to have turned into a bit of a trademark now at this stage, but yeah, the FAF jump for sure is a massive jump, and this year we probably took it maybe very close to the limit, because there is only a certain amount of space that you can use on the left hand side when you're taking off on the jump, because the road naturally goes to the right. So there is a limit to what you can do, but yeah, Taka likes to explore these limits when it comes to the jumps, and I think it's nice. It's for sure something that people enjoy, seeing the car flying through the air, and inside you get a special feeling also when you're flying through the air in the WRC car.
And the new point system, or the adjustment to the point system for this year, how do you feel that's working? And certainly we're you can't accuse any of the drivers holding back on a Sunday now, but also I was interested to see from a team perspective, Taka, allowed Elvin to move ahead to gain that extra point in the fight for the championship. So kind of how from your view, how do you feel that the point system's working this year?
I think compared to what we had last year, that the point system we have this year is a dramatic improvement. Let's say barring a very small technicality, the guy that wins the rally will come away with the most points. So that's the main target that we had when we were requesting the change, and it's like I say, almost impossible now that the guy that wins the rally doesn't score the most amount of points. So from that perspective, we have to be happy, and I think the reduction in points on Sunday from the top 8 to the top 7 is also top 5. Sorry, is also a strong improvement. Regards to what happened in Portugal, yeah, for sure we did not want to get in the way of our teammate, and even more so than that, the aspect of this stage where maybe we didn't push as strongly as we could was the risk of puncture. It was quite a man-made stage, let's say, in general, this longer shakedown run. But I think that ultimately, after the first pass, we were maybe not going to be able to score so many strong points on the Sunday, and going to there for the second pass, we wanted to have the best tyres we had for FAF so that we could go on a big push on the power stage. So it was a little bit of a balancing act between scoring the points on Sunday and having an all-out attack on the power stage, which we knew would be difficult anyway, because it's a road that cleans pretty well, and with every car passing through it gets faster even on the second pass. But yeah, I think we made the right call, and it proved that we got 2 power stage points at least.
So next round is Sardinia. Preparations started for that already?
Yeah, preparations are pretty much done for Sardinia, and well into the preps now for Greece, because things are so busy now over the summer, and the rallies are coming thick and fast with not so much time in between. So you have to be working ahead, and yeah, I had already pretty much finished Sardinia before we left for Portugal. So it'll be a busy summer, and one we're looking forward to now, with a few rallies that we have targeted that we feel comfortable on and can do well. So looking forward to that, and keeping pushing forward and trying to do the best that we can.
So appreciate Aaron there taking the time as always, So, and then it's great we have this access to, one of the very few works co-drivers. So, yep, Aaron, appreciate your time. And then Connor, you spoke there about Portugal towards the end. An event you were at. What was your thoughts on WRC Portugal?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lovely event. My first time to do it. To be honest, we went, and if Carlsberg did rallies, everything just worked out perfectly for us. Sometimes you go to an event like that and it's not, things don't fall into place, but on this occasion it did. And really had a good time. Some great locations for photographs. The opportunity to get in, talk to the drivers, co-drivers, etc. In the service and the media zones and stuff. So, look, genuinely a great event. Really enjoyed it. Long, tiring days, and that was for me. I don't even know how the crews felt, because I think the Friday, where there's somewhere between 12 to 15 hours in the car on Friday alone, that's tough going.
Yeah, that it is, and again in the heat as well too. And you had some great company. You had Gavin Woods and Trevor Howard over with you as well too. So I would say, never mind the photos was excellent. The company was good as well.
Listen, you can't go wrong with those two lads. It's always a bit of crack, and yeah, we do quite a few rallies together, and what do you call it? Great company to have.
That's for sure. And we've seen that how spectacular it looks on TV and all. And when you think of Portugal, the one thing you think of is the FAF jump, and you had the opportunity to go there. Is it all it looks like on TV?
Yeah, it is. It's mental. Like when you're walking up the road, you come over the crest of a hill. It's like going into Glastonbury. There's just music blaring, tents going, lights, the works, and just thousands of people. And it's like an arena that both sides of the road, and it just curves up the hill up towards the FAF jump. And we're lucky enough, had media bibs on, so we could walk up the stage. Like 2 hours before the first car. But when you're walking up towards that jump, there's a steep incline on that hill. Like, they really do. When they take off, they have a long time in the air before they land, and it's steep, and there's not a lot of room. It's quite narrow with that bit of stage between the two banks. So, considering the fact nobody went off on that, with the first run that we were there, nobody went off. I'm amazed.
Yeah, and you talked about it being a steep bank. Do you almost get they get steeped in history? Do you almost get that vibe of we've seen the videos of the Group B monsters going over it, and the spectators almost touching it. Well, not almost, actually touching the cars going past.
There is, as I joked with the lads as we walked up the stage, I said, you're walking on hallowed ground here. If you think Michelle Mouton, you had Kankinen, oh God, Hammy Mikulak, you could Colin McRae, you could keep naming the names. They've all rallied on that section of road, and it's it is the same section of road. It's not a variation of it. Yeah. So you do have a little sense of awe and a sense of, oh my goodness, so it did feel that now, in fairness.
That's for sure. And then you get over there, and at the FAF jump itself, you get talking to our next guest as well.
Yeah, I did. So firstly, I bumped into George McMillan, Jamie's father, and I had a great chat with him. And George, in turn, introduced me to an Australian lady who, it turns out, is living in Ireland, purely for the love of rally. And so I thought this was such an interesting story. We had to have her on as a guest. Emma, what's the story?
Go where the rally goes. And the rallying here is second to none. So if I had to be somewhere in Europe to be closer to the WRC, it was always going to be Ireland. And
what's the background about? What got you into rallying? What got you excited about it in the first place?
I probably have a funny introduction to rally. I do have memories that go far back to about 5 or 6 years old, when my dad was had the old PlayStation 2 WRC 4 game. He had the little makeshift racing sim, I guess, set up with a dining table and a little bench, and had to keep very quiet while I watched him do that, so he could hear the pace notes, stay focused, and all of that jazz. But from there onwards, I had literally no exposure to rally at all until very recently, where I saw something on TikTok. Like, what the hell is that? It was just like a really good just edit of cars flying past spectators at 1,000,000 miles an hour, just hitting these insane jumps, insane turns, and what is that? I need more of that. I need more of that right now. So yeah, pretty much just one TikTok, and away we go.
And
you went from that to Ireland.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just dived headfirst into the world of rally, and Ireland was one of the, I guess, aside from the WRC, the outlet there is, and the way to watch rally and things like that is super accessible. So yeah, ended up finding myself watching a lot of the old Irish rally videos on YouTube, and when it came time to get myself a little bit closer to the World Rally Championship, yeah, it was Ireland.
And can I ask, like, is there any family connection with the sport? You know,
No.
other than your father, doing the PlayStation.
I think my Oma rallied 356 at some stage in her life, but otherwise no.
Okay.
You won't find my surname on EWRC.
And spectating in Australia, what was that like? So I presume that you did get out to the stages out there.
Yes, yeah. Dusty, but yeah, perfect. I guess if we could compare it, the first Irish rally I saw is in Monaghan. Quite different. Obviously the grass is a little bit more brown in Australia. It's not anywhere near as popular. The people that are there are just the most passionate enthusiasts that you can find, but there's not quite as many. But when you do get out to the spectator zone that's set out for you, it's you get a nice bit of the countryside, and a good day out in the sun.
Yeah. Because from us looking over to Australia, like they haven't really went down. They have their own regional cars, kind of sort of the equivalent to Rally 2 R5 cars. The Yaris, and like all them cars. They're built to their own regulations.
Yes, yeah.
They do seem insanely quick as well too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got some front runners who just fly by. So yes, but there's a really good breadth of makes and models and classes and all of that within the ARC, the Australian Rally Championship, and also the QRC too, which is nice. Yeah. Do you see a few Irish?
And I was going to say, there's a good few Irish over there.
There are a few Irish flags driving by, which is quite nice to see too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a huge variety of cars as well too. You have the Ford Escort, the Datsuns, and all these new regulation cars and all too as well. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So there's a few Escorts. Most of the Escorts will actually have the Irish flags plastered on them. So.
Surprise.
Yes, I know. Shock.
And I suppose, Emma, what we haven't mentioned so far is you are a social media influencer with TikTok with 19,000 followers. And you've set up the TikTok channel to promote rally. And so kind of what is your mission behind all of that?
Right. So, yes, I saw rally, I guess. I feel like I was far too old to discover rally and to have it as one of my passions. I wish I had known about it so much sooner because it's everything I want for my future in many ways. So the reason I set up the TikTok essentially is to if there's anything I can do to help expose rally to the people that might not have been exposed to it in other forms of media, then I've done my part. So I'm trying to make it a bit fun, a bit enjoyable, things that you wouldn't see on TV or read online or even on YouTube. There's an avenue there that I think is a little bit untapped at the moment, and I'm trying my best to fill in the gaps. So yeah.
Yeah, because I'm of a generation I don't particularly understand TikTok, but is there a lot of TikTok represented or a lot of rallying represented in TikTok? That's maybe a better way of putting it. Or is it something that you feel that could be more done?
There is certainly a lot of effort being made on TikTok, especially in the last 6 months. I've seen a lot of a lot more go into it, and a lot more people start to get involved in spreading awareness and just creating enjoyable content on TikTok focused on rally. But I certainly think there's more opportunities to take it further and to make it bigger. Yes, for sure.
Because it probably is people like yourself that's doing it. It's not kind of an official line, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of organic the way it's grown.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's definitely an organic growth, and I think the more that we all get involved in it, then the more comfortable other people will too. So.
And from an Irish point of view, the social media, what's where do you feel it's at, and maybe what more could be done at the moment?
That's a good question. That's a very loaded question.
How long have you got?
Here we go. No, I think what's there and available right now is great. Look, you had me hooked, and I wanted to come over straight away. I got my first taste of Irish rallying last year in Monaghan, and I loved every second of it. So, what you've got here is a really strong base and foundation for, putting rally on the world platform. I love to see all of the YouTube, especially the archives that come out. I've mentioned that just a little bit before, but I think what's happening here is really positive, not just for Irish rally, but for something that you can look at and take into other regions that might not have so much accessibility for it. And
sorry, Gavin, go ahead.
Yeah, because we have such a fantastic sport. We have that variety of cars. We have the speed. We have the skills of the drivers and all.
Oh yeah.
And this is TikTok would be another opportunity to share this this wonderful product we have with the rest of the world.
Yep, definitely hit the nail on the head.
And Emma, you've mentioned Monaghan. You've also been down to Rally of the Lakes as well. Out on the ground, what's your experience been of accessibility, I suppose, to the stages, particularly, I suppose, from that point of view where you're looking to find something different for social media?
So yeah, I mean, it takes me back to all the things that I just love about rally, which is that you can rock up. The cars are driving through the main street, right? You can't get any closer to motorsport ever. And then suddenly they're driving down the same road you'd drive down if you were to go to work, and you're watching them fly so much faster than it takes you to get to work, right? So they're kind of like the core things that really attracted me to rallying as opposed to any other form of motorsport. And yeah, getting down to Killarney and the kind of stuff that I was able to do out there. I think the great thing about TikTok is that it doesn't matter who's posting on TikTok. It's all about being relatable and being engaging. And there's so many quirks about the Irish rally scene that just make it so enjoyable. Like the fact that you'll sit down on a random road in the middle of nowhere, no reception, and watch 150 escorts drive by. And you'll just have and you go home and you have a great day. What'd you do today? Oh, I just sat on sat up a Ballybeamer and watched 50 escorts drive by. Oh yeah, and it was fucking awesome. And yeah, that's the kind of stuff that just fuels my passion for it.
And it's such an accessible sport as well too. You like the spectators. I'm sure you have good crack with them. The drivers are always and the co-drivers as well. They're always so ready with something to say, and it must make your job so much easier.
Everyone is so happy and so just because we all share this common love of rally. Everyone is down for a chat. And just enthusiastic about the weekend ahead and how the car's going. And it's just so easy to talk to anyone. Yeah.
And with regard to you make your content humorous, and you're always looking for something funny or a different angle on things. Is it difficult being creative in that sense, or do is maybe just comes naturally to you, Emma?
Oh no, certainly not naturally, no. Well, occasionally. I mean, the longer you spend on TikTok, and it's certainly something I would not recommend, spending too much time on TikTok. But you kind of start getting these like verbal tics in your head that just go over and over. So then when the opportunity arises, you just like the rally element of it and the core TikTok element of it just go together perfectly. No, but I do have, you see the trends and you sort of note them down and you see how this could relate to rally, and it's actually kind of fun when they just kind of perfectly mesh together and just create a nice little bit of entertainment. So it's certainly not something that comes naturally, but it's enjoyable to do and to find the connections between the two.
Yeah, because you're probably scrolling and you can see something totally on rally related and think somewhere in the back of your head there's a wee spark goes, oh, I could make this work if I done this, and and it's how you bring all that together.
Yeah. So I'll go into a rally weekend with I'd say like 50 videos saved of potentially if this happens and we could do this, if that happens we could do that, and it's enjoyable. It's certainly,
and you've also sampled now some of the WRC rounds as well too, and you've seen the best in the world. Is that just mind blowing what they can control? What the way they can control a car down a road.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. When you step into a WRC service park, you're immediately aware that you're surrounded by just people of such a high caliber and excellence that it's very inspiring. And that's not just the drivers; that's everyone within the teams, within the journalistic side of things, the media. Everyone is working at such a just mesmerizing skill level. That's just, especially for me as a sort of young aspiring journalist, to be able to sort of bear witness to that. And that's just like with you don't need to be anyone special to go into the service park and see all of that as well. So yes, definitely to be able to go to a WRC event and to see all of the different sort of facets that go into a rally is definitely something that I take note of and try and absorb as much as I can.
Yeah, because as you say, even the journalists, the mechanics, the camera operators, all those people are at the peak of their game. You must just be like a sponge, just watching all this. Your eyes just must be going all the time, taking everything in.
Yeah. So there's that element, but then there's also the fact that every single one of them will also stop and be incredibly open to having a chat with you too, and so it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's probably very few other sports that it is so accessible. I know, we've talked about this before. If it was golf or football, you wouldn't get that level of access.
No, you wouldn't. No, not a chance. Not a chance. So yeah, it's why I love it, honestly.
Yeah, I think. Did you have the opportunity on one of the recent WRCs? Pádraig Foran took you under his wing, who's the social media manager for the WRC promoter.
Yeah, he was incredibly kind to me, and he took me under his wing and just pretty much just introduced me to anyone and everyone that thought I might want to get to know. I'm just in the middle of nowhere, and he's like, "Come over here. Hi, Julian and Gracia. It's nice to meet you. Oh, hey, Thierry. Yeah, how you going?" It's just like, what's happening to me? But he was great. And it just, I guess it opened so many doors for me, and it's allowed me to then be able to walk up to them from that day forward and just start a chat quite easily. So yeah, I'm also very lucky that the WRC, I guess, social media team will, I guess, sort of give me a little bit of a leg up every now and then on my TikTok channel. So there's an avenue where you can sort of repost videos and have the official WRC account with that little sticker on the bottom of your video saying that they've reposted it. Is a very strong, I guess, level of support that I can receive from them. That just you couldn't put a price on it.
Yeah, because the first time they done that, there must have been a real swell of pride.
Oh, I have so many screenshots of my phone of just like moments that have happened to me that just makes me smile ear to ear. Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Go ahead.
No, I might take you off a different subject, so go ahead there.
No, no, no. It's just like, as I say, like, we kind of build these people up to be heroes, but at the end of the day, they're rally fans as well too, and they want to promote the
Exactly.
sport as well too, don't they?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We're all in it together. We're all
that's
in
for
this
sure.
crazy circus together.
Like you've been to Monty, you've done Sweden, Canaries, Portugal. What what's the standout moment from those for you?
Oh, there's so many to choose from. Certainly being in Rally Monte Carlo, Jarges was where the fireworks and the flares went off this year. To be right in the middle of that was something incredibly special that I will hold dear to me for a long, long time. Um, Also, just being in Sweden, it doesn't quite snow like it does in Sweden at home in Australia. So just to be walking around the service park getting covered in snow was something special too. So I think the great thing about rally is it takes you to so many different unexpected locations, and gives you experiences that you wouldn't get maybe with other forms of motorsport, because you're out in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes you've got no reception, you've got nothing but whatever you brought with you. So yes, some great memories from all of the events.
Yeah, and when you were in Sweden, then you met two guys from On the Limit Sports,
I did, yes, yeah.
and that's going to open up another new avenue for you now as
I
well.
I know. I'm incredibly lucky to bump into people. I think I had my Brini on, and I was just dawdling around as you do when the rally's in town, seeing what there is to see. And yeah, bumped into Lee and Paul from On the Limit. Had a nice chat with them. And since I'm here in Ireland, I was heading down to the Killarney and thought I'd just send Lee a message just to see if he's going to be down there, because I'm a little bit in unfamiliar territory. As much as I love what's going on here, I don't quite know my way around. So I sent him a message and said, "Hey, can I jump in the van with you this weekend?" And fortunately, I was very lucky. He had a spare seat, and I found myself in the middle seat of a Ford Transit van between two crazy Irish people all weekend long, and I had the best time of my life. So, yeah.
And they're going to bring you on board for the big one coming up now in June, Donegal.
Yep. Yep.
You're going to be
Yep.
their TikTok guru for the weekend, are you?
I don't know. I hope so. We'll give it a go. Yeah, it should be good fun. It should be good fun.
And I think Donegal's the best rally in Ireland. What have you heard about the event?
I've heard that it's the best event over and over and over and over and over again, and I can't wait to see it and just experience it for myself. I was very lucky in February. I was able to drive up to Donegal, and I drove Knockalla, and I could not imagine going faster than the speed limit on Knockalla. It is just a roller coaster as it is, and just the atmosphere and the experience that racing on that bit of tarmac would just be insane.
And Emma, you mentioned the Brini, and your TikTok channel is also called Flat to the Square Right.
Yeah.
Homage to Craig Breen?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I guess my introductory to rally, Craig was one of the most influential people to that. Just the passion for rally that came through the screen was just so strong and enthusiastic and encouraging. You really felt like you could achieve whatever you want to achieve when you watch Craig on the screen. So for me, when I was deciding what to call my channel and sort of how to set that all up, it was kind of a no-brainer to have something that sort of kept a tie of Craig within the world of rally, as small as mine would be. To have one there is something that gives me a little bit of pride and joy. So yeah.
And
Well, sorry, Emma, if you can only bring even a fraction of the enthusiasm, the passion, the love of the sport that Craig brought to rallying, you're onto a winner.
Exactly. Yeah, his passion and enthusiasm was second to none. So to even emulate a fraction of it, as you said, yeah, is onto something. So
Look, you as we said, you have 19,000 followers. Your mission is to introduce new people to the sport. What type of feedback are you getting from the followers? About what you're displaying or showing to them.
It's great. I get some really encouraging feedback. I get a lot of messages saying, "You got to go to this rally. You've got to go to that rally." So I think people are really happy to see their rallies on the world stage. They're really happy also to see them on TikTok. So I've got every rally I've been to, I've had a lot of people send me messages to thank me for putting that little, those little moments of their home rally onto TikTok, which is somewhere it might not have been before. So I feel really, really privileged to be able to help people out with that, I guess.
So I suppose then the final one then again is just how do you go about finding you on TikTok, and what's your handle, and how easy is it to follow you?
Oh well, you can just search up Flash the Square Right, and I should come up. Second to the most iconic rally video ever of literally Flash the Square Right. Or you can search my name, Emma Hawley, and that will take you there too.
Excellent. So thanks very much there to Emma. Fascinating story. You can find her on TikTok at Flat to the Square Right. So that is another episode of Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast. Until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.
That's the proudest day and the proudest time and the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.